Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I never expected a single glance could change the way I felt about someone I thought I knew. It was supposed to be just another family dinner. The kind where everyone shows up out of habit, not excitement. My husband had been distant lately, more into his phone than into me, and I had grown used to the silence between us. But that night, my stepbrother, who had always been just the guy my mom married into the family, looked at me differently. Not in a creepy way, not in a way that crossed any hard lines, but in a way that made my heart skip. It wasn't the first time I'd noticed something a little off in the air between us. We were always friendly, easy to talk to, and maybe we laughed more than others noticed. But that night, it was the way his eyes held mine for a second too long. The way he smiled like he knew something I didn't. And suddenly, I felt seen, not as someone's wife or someone's step-sibling, but as a woman. I tried to brush it off, tell myself I was imagining things. Maybe I was just lonely, looking for attention. But then, I caught him watching me again. Not in a bad way, but in a way that made me feel alive. It stirred something I hadn't felt in a long time, something I hadn't even realized I was missing. My husband barely noticed me that evening. He was half listening, scrolling through sports scores, nodding at things he wasn't even hearing. Meanwhile, my stepbrother asked about my work, remembered little things I'd said weeks ago, and made me laugh when no one else even tried. It was harmless. At least, it started that way. But the tension was real. I felt it every time our eyes met. I saw it in the way he paused before saying goodbye, like he wanted to say more but didn't. That look he gave me, I felt it deep. And I didn't know what to do with it. Was it wrong to feel this way? Was I just overthinking a moment? Or was there something neither of us had dared to speak out loud? Tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced a moment like this with someone you weren't supposed to? Someone who caught you off guard, just by looking at you a certain way? Vote in the poll, was it just a look, or something more? And don't miss the next part, because what happened after that dinner changed everything. The days after that dinner were strange. I kept trying to forget about the way my stepbrother looked at me, but it played over in my mind like a loop I couldn't shut off. Every time I thought I was being silly, something small would happen to pull me back in. A text from him, nothing weird, just "Hey, how are you holding up?" would hit harder than it should. My husband, meanwhile, was still drifting through our days like a roommate more than a partner. He didn't notice when I changed my hair, didn't ask how my day went, didn't even look up when I sat beside him on the couch. One afternoon, I bumped into my stepbrother at a coffee shop. Totally random, or maybe not. He said he came in often, but I'd never seen him there before. We talked for a bit, standing awkwardly between the coffee machines and pastry shelves. I told myself it was just a casual conversation, but there was something about the way he listened, how he remembered tiny things about me that even my husband forgot. It felt like he saw the parts of me I didn't even show people anymore. Later that night, my husband asked me if I had picked up dinner. That was it. No, how was your day? No, nice to see you. I sat there, food in my lap, wondering if this was what marriage was supposed to feel like, dull, routine, silent. I thought about my stepbrother's eyes, his laugh, and I hated myself for it. But I also couldn't stop thinking, what if the connection I felt wasn't just in my head? That weekend, we all ended up at another family gathering. I tried to act normal, to avoid his eyes. But I felt them on me. We didn't talk much, just little glances, short exchanges. Still, the energy between us was impossible to ignore. When I left, he followed me out to the driveway, said he just wanted to say goodbye in private. He didn't touch me. He didn't say anything wrong. But the way he looked at me, with all that unspoken tension, it was almost too much. Do you think she's just imagining the connection, or is something real building between them? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you were in her shoes, what would you do next? After that night in the driveway, I thought I could push the feelings down, just bury them under routine, under guilt, under everything that felt like normal. But normal didn't feel safe anymore. My thoughts kept drifting, especially in quiet moments. I'd find myself zoning out while folding laundry or stirring pasta, replaying the way he looked at me. There was no plan, no clear direction, just this growing weight I couldn't name. At home, things with my husband were getting colder. He wasn't angry or cruel, just absent. I tried bringing it up one night, told him I felt like we were becoming strangers. He shrugged and said we were both just busy. I waited for him to ask what I needed, or how I was really feeling. But he didn't. He turned the TV back on and didn't even notice I was crying. That moment hit hard. I wasn't looking for drama, I just wanted to feel like someone cared. And in that silence, my stepbrother's voice echoed louder in my head than it should have. Then came the text. Just 4 words, "You okay these days?" It shouldn't have meant anything. But it felt like someone was finally asking. We started texting more, nothing wild, just small things, music, work stress, random thoughts. But it was the way he responded, like he genuinely cared. He remembered what I said. He noticed the things I left unsaid too. And for a second, I hated how easy it was to open up to him. My best friend noticed something was off. She asked if I was okay, said I seemed distracted. I didn't know how to explain it without sounding ridiculous, or worse, disloyal. But I couldn't lie either. I told her there was someone who made me feel seen. She looked at me for a long time before asking, "Is it him?" She didn't mean my husband. Now, I feel stuck. I haven't crossed a line, but I know I'm close. I keep asking myself, is this just loneliness talking, or is something real happening here? Something that I've been missing for too long? What do you think? Can emotional cheating be worse than physical? Have you ever felt a connection that shook up everything you thought was stable? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let me know, is this about to fall apart, or start something new? The more I tried to distance myself, the closer the feelings got. My stepbrother wasn't doing anything wrong, technically. He wasn't making moves, wasn't saying things he shouldn't. But the way he looked at me when no one else was watching, it said everything. And I didn't stop him. I didn't even want to. One evening, we all ended up at my parents' place again. A birthday dinner. Just like before, my husband barely interacted with me, talking sports with my dad and scrolling through his phone during cake. I caught my stepbrother's eyes across the table, just for a second, and I felt my heart lurch again. It was subtle, quiet tension. No words. But everything felt louder than it should have. Later that night, I went outside for air. I didn't expect anyone to follow me. But then I heard the door creak. It was him. He didn't say anything at first, just stood next to me, both of us looking out at the yard like it held all the answers we were too afraid to say out loud. Finally, he asked, "Are you happy?" Just 3 words, but they hit harder than any confession. I couldn't speak. My silence probably said more than a full sentence ever could. That question echoed in my head for days. It wasn't just about marriage anymore. It was about me, what I'd settled for, what I'd ignored, and what I'd stopped fighting for. The next time I saw him, it was by accident again, or at least that's what I told myself. A grocery run that turned into coffee, just 20 minutes that felt like breathing after holding it in too long. He didn't push anything. He just sat there, listening, nodding, being there. But it was getting harder to hide. My husband started noticing my quietness. He asked if I was feeling okay, said I seemed distant. I didn't know how to respond. I wanted to scream, "You're asking now?" But I didn't. I just smiled, said I was tired. Now I feel like I'm standing on the edge of something that can't be undone. One more step and everything changes. But staying where I am feels just as impossible. What would you do if you were her? Stay and fix what's broken, or risk everything for something uncertain? Comment your take below, and don't miss what happens next. The days after that quiet moment in the backyard passed in a blur of uncertainty. I was on edge, like I was constantly waiting for something to happen, but also hoping it wouldn't. I couldn't tell anyone about what I was feeling, not my husband, not my best friend, and certainly not my parents. It was my burden to carry, even though it was eating me alive. Every time my stepbrother called or texted, I felt a rush of excitement and guilt at the same time. But I couldn't stop it. It wasn't just physical attraction anymore. It was something deeper. And I hated how much I couldn't control it. One night, when my husband had fallen asleep on the couch, I found myself scrolling through my stepbrother's texts again. The familiar, comforting messages. It felt safe, like someone understood me. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a new message. It wasn't from him. It was from my husband. I know what's been going on. I froze. My heart stopped in my chest. I didn't know how to react. How did he know? What did he know? I quickly typed a response, asking what he meant, but my hands were shaking too much to even hit send. The words stared back at me, as if they were a warning. The seconds stretched out. When the next message came through, it wasn't just a few words. It was a long one. I don't know what's going on between you and my brother, but I see the way you've been acting. I've been watching. It's hard to ignore what's happening. The room felt like it was closing in on me. My mind raced, but nothing made sense. Was this a bluff? Was he testing me? I couldn't tell if he was angry or resigned. The strangest part was, I couldn't remember the last time he had actually noticed anything about me, let alone something so specific. Before I could even process, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was from my stepbrother. "We need to talk." And just like that, everything I'd been avoiding came rushing back. The look in his eyes, the silent tension, the unsaid words. I had no idea where this was going, but I knew one thing. This wasn't going to end quietly. What would you do if you were in her shoes? Confront the truth head-on or try to keep everything under wraps? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I can't wait to see how you'd react. I stood frozen at the door, staring at her. My heart pounded, not just from shock, but from everything crashing down at once. She didn't yell or cry, her voice was calm, too calm. "I thought you should know," she said. "He did the same thing with me. Said I was the only one who understood him. That he couldn't talk to anyone else." Then she looked me up and down and added, "You're not the first. I doubt you'll be the last." She turned and walked away without waiting for a response. I stood there for a long time, letting her words sink in. All the feelings I had confused for something real suddenly felt cheap. It wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about how easily I let myself believe something just because I was lonely. Later that night, I sat down with my husband again. I told him everything, not just about the messages, but about how empty I had felt for so long. He listened, really listened this time. No phones, no distractions. For the first time in months, we had a real conversation. He didn't pretend to forgive everything in one moment, and I didn't expect him to. But we agreed on one thing: no more pretending. If we were going to rebuild, it would take time. Honesty. Effort. My stepbrother never reached out again. Maybe he knew the truth had finally caught up. Or maybe he just moved on, the way people like him always do. Weeks passed. My husband and I started doing small things again, eating dinner at the table, taking walks, talking before bed. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And this time, I saw the difference between something meaningful and something that just filled a void. Looking back now, I don't regret everything. Because sometimes it takes falling apart to realize what really matters. Let me know in the comments, how did this ending make you feel? Would you have chosen the same path, or walked away for good? And if you'd want a sequel or continuation, tell me what you'd want to see next.